Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Investor Lab. My name is Goose, and this, in fact, is the auditory epicenter for passionate people seeking a life of freedom, choice, and abundance. And today, I had the absolute pleasure of chatting with a really amazing entrepreneur. Her name is Jen du Plessis, or Jen du Plessis, depending on where you're from and how you want to say it. We talked about so much groundbreaking stuff. So Jen is not only a very successful real estate investor, she's also an extremely successful entrepreneur. So she's from the US. She's in her career written over $1 billion of loans as a mortgage broker. She's got a podcast called Success to Significance, which explores the idea of how to live a more fulfilled life. And we spoke about so much stuff. We talked about the 5 steps to cracking the high performance code. We spoke about guns. That was pretty fun. A little controversial there, but that's okay. That was all good. And we spoke about so much stuff that are really all centered around this idea around how to work less, make more, and get more out of life, which is at the fundamental core of everything that this show is about. Everything that we do, everything our whole value system is about. How do we make life better? How do we optimize for better, and how do we optimize for calm? And this episode really hits on so much of that. Whether you're a business owner or a non-business owner, and if you're a mortgage broker or a non-mortgage broker, if you have any desire to optimize your life in a way that is going to deliver you to a place of deeper fulfillment, then I know you're going to get just absolutely bucket loads out of this episode. So if you do, please let us know. We'd love to get the feedback, and make sure you like this. If you're watching this on YouTube or anything, make sure you hit subscribe and hit the like button and the notification and the ding ding and all of the good stuff. Anywhere you are, just hit subscribe. You're on Spotify, if you're on Apple, just hit subscribe, because what that does is that helps us to get this message out to other people like you who get value from this show too. And of course, if you want more, if you want a bit more juice, and if you want some free resources or the ability to even work with us on a one-to-one basis to help you achieve your property goals, then head to theinvestorlab.com.au. Everything you need is right there. And of course, if there's anything I can do, please just reach out to me directly. You can get me on hello@dashdot.com.au. And let's get stuck into it. I'll see you guys on the inside. Hey guys, welcome back to the Investor Lab. Today I am joined by Jen du Plessis. And Jen, just by way of introduction, I think you're the only mortgage broker that I have ever known that has spoken on stage with Tony Robbins. So for guys listening, for the audience listening, Jen is based in the States, but she runs an amazing podcast. What's it? Success to Significance. You were in the top 1% of mortgage brokers for over 40% of your career in the US. You do a huge amount of speaking. You're a best-selling author. There's so much ground that we can cover here. Jen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm so excited. And I'm so excited to have you on my show. Next week, we're going to be recording. So yeah, excited to have you on my show as well. I'm
pumped. Okay. So now, obviously, you're in the States. I'm in Australia. We're operating in you're not actually an active mortgage broker anymore, are you?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay.
I transitioned a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So, we're similar industry, different market. So there's kind of like going to be some nuances there. But yeah, I want to start with, what drove you in your mortgage broking career? What drove you to become in the top 1% for over 15 years? That's a pretty high benchmark.
Yeah. Well, let me quantify that first of all, because at the time, right now in the United States, we have a little over 500,000 residential mortgage loan officers. At the time that I was in the 1%, there were just a bunch of us. So to be in the 1% today would mean that I'm in the top 50,000, which doesn't sound very good, but I was actually in the top 200 loan officers in the country.
Wow.
And the years that we had over 700,000 loan officers. And So it's a big feat, and it's a big feat because I'm a woman
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what started off as a very male dominated industry, years ago, still has a good old boy world, But for me, I mean, all of this is perpetuated from my childhood, and I won't waste our time talking about that part of it. But it's all perpetuated from my childhood, where I spent years and years. I was known as Jenny who ain't got a penny, and so you can't call me Jenny because of that. Told I wasn't going to be worth anything, that I was going to be worthless. I was going to be an alcoholic like my dad, and poor, and all of that. And that had a really profound effect on me. And so I spent most of my life proving to everyone that I wasn't going to be Jenny who ain't got a penny. And so that's really what was the driver for perfection, and showing everybody that I could do this, that I would never be like that. And but I've always been very competitive in every area of my life. I play instruments. I'm a competitive ballroom, Latin, and swing dancer. I shoot guns, which I know you guys don't have there, but
We have guns.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, I was on a cruise with some guys from Australia, and they're like, "Oh, you guys have guns, you American."
It's not the same.
Girls.
Yeah, it's not the same. We don't just go to the supermarket carrying guns and stuff.
No, we don't. Well, we do. I do.
Yeah.
But because I
Okay.
conceal carry, yeah. But no, I mean, I'm a Target person, and I love that. That's better for me than golf, because golf is boring to me, right? So I'd rather shoot. If I'm going to put something in the hole, I'm going to put it over there.
Okay, I hang on a second. I don't want to get stuck on the gun thing, right? Because it's a little controversial. But
Yes, it is.
But did you just say you conceal carry?
I conceal carry, yeah.
Yeah. So you walk around carrying a gun?
Yeah, but nobody knows, because, in the States you can open carry and you can see it, or you can conceal carry. I conceal carry because if I were to open carry, a guy would see me and go, "Oh, look at her. She thinks she's tough. Hey, chickie, why don't you,
So why do you conceal carry? Like I'm genuinely curious.
Oh, because
why do you feel like that's something you
I'm
should or
always
need to do?
because before COVID, I
Yeah.
was always going to networking events, and some of them were late at night, and I was walking through parking lots and garages and things like that, and you got to be careful. Just have to be careful, and
Okay,
it's not
so-
because someone has a gun, but someone could do something else to me, and so that's a protection factor. But my dad was an NRA, National Rifle Association, hunting guide for big game, and that's where it came from. So I always, had guns around, but most of it's target practice for me. I don't shoot animals. I don't shoot people. I target practice. So,
Yeah.
but just a really competitive person. And of course that came into the mortgage space as well. And especially, as a woman, and I'm not a Me Too person or anything like that, but I just, I got into that arena with all these men, and I thought, well, I can show them too. I'm going to prove to everybody, and I'm going to prove to them. So, and my degree's in architecture and construction engineering. So I have a very technical mind, and mortgages were just the thing. My uncles owned and still own lots of property. And so I was reared in that, in accumulation of investment properties and whatnot. And so it just was natural progression for me. And then I wanted to be number one, as best as I could. So that's what I did. Is I don't do anything dabbling.
No, that's good. That's good. Okay. So cool. That's given us a good bit of a backstory and why you got into it. So I want to ask you something. In that pursuit of getting to the top, the pursuit of being the best, how did that make you feel? Did that actually satisfy that need? Because it sounds like to me, a big part of that was to a certain degree running away from the past.
Yeah.
Was that fulfilling? Were you actually fulfilled when you were at that goal? Ooh.
No. Well, on the way there, I was not fulfilled. When I got there, I was fulfilled. So, the backstory of that is when you spend your life proving, everything in my life was about my practice, and everything else was secondary. My family, my kids, anything was secondary. And, here I was, a cat on a marble floor. And it's funny you say fulfill, because I always tell people this, is that we tend, all of us do as entrepreneurs, and investors, the same thing is, some guru says, hey, you can be an investor with just 1 hour a night, focus on it. And we do the wrong activities. And so it's like eating soup with a fork. All these activities that we're eating, we're constantly consuming, and we're busy, and we come home and we say, oh, we're so tired. I think I did some stuff, but I don't know. But you're not full you're not fulfilled because you're eating soup with a fork. Yeah. And so I was going to say, so what happened was, I was doing that. I was a cat on a marble floor in oil, scrambling around all the time, really working unbelievable hours, proving. And I was doing good. I was in the 1%, but I wasn't happy. Right. And one night I was supposedly at dinner with my family, but the phone rang. And what do you think I did? I took the client because the client, they need me. They're more important. And while I was walking that concrete tightrope, or that balance beam that you walk outside of a restaurant, back and forth on the curb, and you're talking and you're kind of waving to people as they're walking in, and I'm on the phone with the client. I happened to look over into the window of the restaurant, and there my family was enjoying themselves, laughing, having time together, creating memories, but I wasn't in them. And I'd seen that before, and I would see it again. But that was the apex of this has to stop. It has to stop. And what ended up happening is through the course of the next, 5 years or so, I developed, five steps to lifestyle business mastery. I developed ways that how do I crack the code, the code on this. And that code is the combination. And what ended up happening was I ended up working 4 days a week and went to 100 million a year instead of 50 million.
That's fascinating. So you managed to crack the code on how to work less and make more.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And be happy. I was happy. Now I was done proving. I'm going to start living.
Okay.
But there's got to be a way to do it. Yeah.
All right. Let's dig into that. Let's dig into that, because I think that this is a common problem, and there's so many ways that we could go with this. There's so much I want to pick apart, because I think your story is really, really genuinely fascinating. There's aspects of it of, how do you know what is the right thing to do? Like, how do you actually work out? Because you're right. We all are so busy all of the time. And to be honest, when we're programmed that if we're not busy, if we're not like, the standard response, hey, how are you? Oh, busy. I'm busy. I'm busy. How are you? Oh, busy. We're all busy.
I'm swamped.
Busy doing what? And why is that the catch cry of success? Because I'm very guilty of it. Like, I'm a very busy person, and I'm questioning myself, and I'm going, why am I busy? Like, what is it that is making me busy, and how to be more effective in that decision making? So I'm curious how you managed to transition from, there's obviously some mechanical stuff like actions and also some mindset stuff. So how did you transition from, you'd built a massive career over a very long period of time, multiple decades, as I understand it, of this programming of let's be busier, let's do more, let's get more, let's have more, let's be more, it's all tied up in this pursuit of more, and it's actually a disease of more, because we always think that the more that it's gross. We always think that the more that we have of whatever, the more, if I just had more of this, I'd be happier. If I just had more of this, I'd be happier. So how did you transition from multiple decades of that kind of programming to not only
calm?
Yeah, exactly. To optimize, how did you optimize for calm?
Yeah.
But also, how did you do that and make more money at the same time? That sounds
well.
Like
first
crazy.
Of all, it wasn't easy, so it's hard to answer in a minute, right? So it's going to be hard to answer. It definitely wasn't easy, and I call it the glorification of busyness. That everyone's like, "Well, I'm more busy than you are, and I'm more busy because I have to run from pillar to post." And now I look at people like that, and I think, "You poor soul, how can I save you?" Right. And that's really become my mission, is making an impact, and being significant in people's lives, to be able to condense that knowledge that I had and condense it into a short period of time before they hit the apex, before they hit that pinnacle point of, oh my gosh, I lost my family, I lost my friends, I lost my health, I lost my wealth, trying to accomplish. And, all these sayings that we have in our world, in our lives of less is more, they have meaning. We just have to dig into them. So for me, it was, part of what was already happening as this restaurant situation came up too, was when I was networking, it was a lot of chit chat by people. Well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do this. And I just wanted to strangle people and say, and when I wrote my book, Launch How to Take Your Business to New Heights, I really wanted to call it, would you just shut up and go do it? Just shut up.
That also would have been a good title. Shut up and do it.
It would have been good, but they say, "Oh, that's not your personality." And I go, "Okay, so then it was stop talking."
If that's authentically you, who are you listening to? Get
right. I know. Well, because I really would never tell someone, "Can you just shut up and do it?" It was just more like, right. I would never really say that. So I kind of changed it into stop talking, take action, get results. Right.
Yep.
And that's really what it's about. But when it gets down to, and so that's that busyness, but when it gets down to how I cracked the code, and it took time. Listen, I had trial and error and try and error. I've been in everybody's shoes, and I did well and I did badly. But really what it came down to was my core values. And I think that we have lost sight of that. It's all about chasing money, because money isn't success. For some people it is, but I think you have your eye on the wrong target. Money is the result of what is more passionate for you to accomplish. So when I went back to my core values, one of my core values is family. And I thought, well, if that's a core value, then why am I working till 11 o'clock at night? Why am I taking the phone call because my client needs me instead of my daughter who might need me for something, right? Or my son. And so when I went back to the core values and really went deep with those and set up boundaries around them, I was able to go from a position of being on demand to a position of being in demand. And if you think of a doctor, the MD, right, the just generic doctor that you go to, that's on demand. I'm sick, I need to come to you. I'm sick, I need to come to you. My kid has this, I got to come to you. Can you fit me in, right? The in demand is the specialist, the expert. You have to wait sometimes 3-6 months to have an appointment with them. And who makes more money?
Okay, so can I just dig into that for a little moment?
Yeah.
Does that mean that you were like in an industry where it's basically retail? You could have a first-time investor wanting to go get a mortgage. You could and did you niche down your business? Did you say, I am not here for everyone, I'm here for some people? Or how did you do that? Or did you just say, wow, I'm just less available there, and it's a survival of the fittest?
Well, it's yes, and yes, all of that.
Good.
Yeah, niche to grow rich. This is another, or there's riches and niches. This is another saying that we hear all the time, but we don't implement, right?
We call them niches here, but that saying isn't the riches are in the niches doesn't quite work.
The riches in the niches. Yeah. So I did. I niched down and I said, I can't be and I feel this way. If you're selling everything to everybody, then you're selling nothing to nobody. Right. So I niched down into what aligned with my core values.
And what was that?
Aligned with my core values. So for me, it was doing veteran loans because my husband's father was a veteran, and I was raised in a town that had all kinds of military establishments. So that was important. I niched down into jumbo loans, right? Doing higher end loans because I didn't want to quote a rate. I wanted to dig into the financial DNA of a client and the complexities that were involved with that, so that it would feed my need in this business after that many years. That was boring. I wasn't getting out of it what I wanted. So I wanted a little more. And that was aligning with one of my core values. And then, the last one was investors, because I'm an investor and because I needed to find outlets beyond just the normal traditional financing, because even today I do origination for investors only. And it doesn't require that I'm licensed the way I used to have to be and everything, because it's just a different world. And again, there's a complexity of it and the wealth creation that goes behind it. So I went into that niche and I realized that investors don't work on weekends, that veterans are working on weekends, so they're not going to be calling me, and high-end clients don't work on weekends either. And what was happening before that was that I was getting every Tom, Dick, and Harry and every real estate agent that, said, oh, I don't have control of my business, so I'm going to flop that onto you. And can you do me, do a pre-approval letter on the weekend and and so I had to say no to those people and really focus in on people that complement and not complicate my core values so that I can have this lifestyle. And so became attraction rather than chasing. I became the in-demand expert rather than the paper bag, right? Of everybody can do it. And that changed my life. I did fewer loans, but more volume.
So that inflection point where you said, I'm not for everyone, I'm for some people, which I've just been reading Seth Godin's book called This Is Marketing, and I'm not sure if you've read it, but it's so good. This is not for you, but this is for some people, this idea. Yes. What was that transition hard? Like, was there a window where you started saying no to some people, but there was a gap between when that shift happened? Because I think what stops a lot of business owners niching down, and I may very well be, talking.
No, I know exactly what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you niche down, and then you go broke. Whilst you're waiting,
your fear.
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary because if you know where you want to go and who you can serve and how to live a better life, and if you're focused on, I have a belief that everyone says life wasn't meant to be easy and all of this. I believe that life was meant to be easy and business was meant to be fun. It's just our job to work out how to make it so. That's a belief of mine. But niching down can be quite challenging because you're like, oh my God, what if it all fails? What if I don't find enough of my, dream clients, all of that kind of stuff?
Right.
What happens?
Well, the bottom line is you don't have enough business right now, and that's why you're considering niching. So if you don't have enough business, you're saying, hey, maybe to get more business, I should niche. It's because, again, you're selling everything to no one. And so no one's hearing you. So, Starbucks, let's look at Starbucks, for example, right? So you have Starbucks in Australia.
Yep.
So
not many of them, I would say. They haven't taken off here. We're coffee snobs, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I know. So if Starbucks, everybody goes to Starbucks because of coffee. Right. Some variety of coffee. But when you walk into Starbucks, they have all kinds of other things they're selling. And you pick that up and you get it, etc. But they don't go out and market to come there for their yogurt. They don't go in the market and come there. We got some bags of chips.
Yeah, because otherwise that'd be like a 7-Eleven, right?
That's right. But the same thing with 7-Eleven. If you need gas in your car and you're in the mood for a Slurpee, you go to 7-Eleven and you don't care how much the gas is. It's ancillary to it. So when you attract people, and I like saying it like this too, I love peanut butter cookies, right? So I'm going to run around and say, I love peanut butter cookies. I'm going to show you how to make peanut butter cookies. We're going to share all the recipes for peanut butter cookies. We're going to have peanut butter cookie parties. We're going to do peanut butter cookies. There's a lion's share of people who are like, nah, I'm a raisin person. And that's okay. But because you're yelling it from the rooftop that you're all about peanut butter cookies, peanut butter cookie people are going, hey, wait, am I hearing someone likes peanut butter cookies? And all of a sudden they come in droves. And then when you have them, you go, I hate to tell you, but I think you might be allergic to peanut butter cookies. I know you want them, but I actually have raisin cookies, and maybe that's what we should be doing for you. So it's not that you're cutting everybody off. It's how you market. It's what you're delivering out to attract your people. And of course, you're going to give them everything. Starbucks would never say, sorry, you can't buy any other stuff in here besides coffee. So therein lies the problem, with people, is that we're all out like a bunch of vanilla ice cream. And we need to be all these flavors of vanilla ice cream, because when you're vanilla, nobody knows what you're going to get. What makes you special? There's nothing that makes you special.
Okay.
And now you're in a competitive market.
Okay. So you decided that you were going to niche down because you wanted a better life and all of that kind of stuff. Did you niche down because you said, I just want more time, I just want a better life? Or was it like, maybe I'll also have a bigger business? Or did the bigger business, because you said 50 million to 100 million, that's double, right? You doubled your business. Was that part of the strategy, or was it just, I want to spend more time with my friends and family and I want to have a better life, and then whoops?
Yep. Oh, it kind of was a whoops, because, at the time at 50, doing 50 million, I was making really good money. We had what we wanted and all of that. I wanted more for me. I wanted me to be number one, not my clients, and it is having the courage to say no to your clients and say yes to you. And what we tend to do is that we build a business like a wheel on a tire, right? A wheel, like a wheel. So we build the business and it's this strong thing, right? And then we put this fluff around it called a tire, the tube around it. And that's our lives. And our life, as we're going down the road because we don't know where we're going, we're getting nails and all kinds of stuff. It's all wearing out. And all we're left with is our business. And that's what we do. And then there's no fulfillment in life, right? Instead, what if we build the wheel first and the wheel is your life? And that's the strong, solid steel thing. And then we build the business around it and it protects your life. And it becomes a business of purpose and path and intention to protect your life. So what ended up happening was I needed my life back. And I said, well, okay, they said niche, I'll niche. They said, don't be in demand or on demand, be in demand. And I would hear all these different, they didn't say that, I said it, but, how can I just trim this up? And how can I put some boundaries around what truly is important to me in my core values? And so I had to have the courage to say, no, I can't meet you tonight because I already have an appointment. And people are really funny about this. They're like, they don't want to tell people my appointments that I'm taking my kid to the dentist or whatever. And they don't need to know. I'm already booked. I'm booked with me. I'm booked with my family. And unfortunately, I can't meet you. But isn't it funny how we're like, sorry, I can't come to a recital tonight, honey, because I have a client. Here's my mom had this quote. We flatter those we scarcely know. We please the fleeting guests, but we deal many a thoughtless blow to those we love the best. Right? So we have to invert this and flip it. And when I did that, and when I made my life a priority, I was able to live my legacy while I was building it, instead of just building a legacy and not having a life. And so I turned around and went, holy Malacco, I'm actually doing more business by doing this because my business was intentional. I had to get in, do what I needed to do, and get out. Not do the Parkinson's law of if it takes you, if you don't have a timeline on how long it'll take you to get something done, it'll take you forever.
Yeah.
But we know when we have a deadline, we get it done. So I go in and I work my tail off and then I go play.
Yeah. Good. Good, because I want to dig into that a little bit because I want to get back to these 5 steps. I'm interested. But first, so you kind of got 2 very different phases in your career. You've got the busy for busy sake and the work less, make more period. I'm interested to know about building wealth outside of business. Firstly, wealth, I don't just mean making money, but like how during the busy period, during that time where you were just chasing that top point, did you have any focus on building wealth outside of business, or were you just in pursuit of the one goal? How did that change when you shifted your priorities? What's been your perspective on building personal wealth? Because I think a lot of the problem that I see with business owners and entrepreneurs like yourself. Now, you and I are both entrepreneurs in the real estate space, doing different stuff, but this transcends not just in real estate, or this is for
anything.
people. Yeah, totally in anything. Like this could be for non-business owners, but also one of the big issues I see with business owners is they get caught in the pursuit of growth of their business and forget about growth of themselves and what's happening on the outside of business. So do you want to talk to that for a little bit, just about how that worked in those different phases?
Yeah, well, and it's funny because I always tell the story. It's like, if I don't know, I'm trying to make sure that I can relate this, to everybody there. It doesn't matter, if you sell purple shirts, right? If you sell purple shirts, but you don't own a purple shirt, that's a problem. It's you should buy the purple shirt. Yes, it's the perfect time to buy the purple shirt. Get a purple shirt. Get it. But how come you don't own a purple shirt? So in the space of whatever someone's doing, right? In our particular space, if I was doing mortgages, I doggone better own homes. I should be able to go through the process so that I can experience the process and be able to empathize with my client on a regular basis. So yes. And again, my uncles are multi-millionaires owning lots and lots of apartment buildings and things like that. So right from the get-go, I was taught to create other streams of business of income. And so I have multiple streams of income. For me, every loan I did was stepping over to get to that final goal. So every loan I closed at that point, because, it was good money anyway, right? Every loan that I closed was just accumulation of capital to be able to buy the next house, and the next house. And so we did step investing. We bought, 1 to 2 houses a year. And that was sort of the way that we did it back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's super important that people are looking at, other avenues. So I've always had that outlook that it's not just, what are you going to do with your money? If you make money and you make it all and you put it in the bank, what's it going to do for you? Nothing, absolutely nothing. So we want to have our money move all the time.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that was a key part of your strategy from the get-go. Okay, that's good. That's good because I know.
Actually, we bought our first house at 19. We were 19 years old when we bought our first house. We've been married 37 years now, but we bought our first house at 19, and we still have that home.
Awesome. So you've been a pretty active real estate investor along the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's your real estate investment? I'm delighted to hear that wealth building outside of business was a core part of the whole premise. So many people that I know, business owners that I know, they just have this idea that if they grow the business bigger, somehow that all just kind of work itself out. So I'm delighted to hear that it's been a core part of your overarching strategy. What's your real estate investing strategy? How do you go about that? Like, what's your strategy?
Well, it's an interesting transition, because this transition actually happened well after I had, cracked the code and had been doing really well for years and years. Is that, prior to that, when I was doing wealth accumulation, buying properties and all that, it was all about me. I want to buy a house. I want to have, equity. I want to have cash flow. I want to have all those pieces. It was about me. And then later I realized, because I went through that transition of me, trying to get, make a ton of money in my business. When you do make more money and you have more time to step back, you have more time to think about what your purpose is. That's why the podcast, my podcast is Success to Significance, because yes, you have the success, but what are you going to get back, to somebody, to anybody, to make your imprint on the world, right? And so we started shifting our investing. And so we were buy and hold for years and years and years. I think I flipped one because I had to, and I didn't ever want to do it again. So we were buy and hold. And then we snowballed all of them to be paid off with the cash flow, because at the time I was making money, and still do, but we were making money and we didn't need the cash flow. So we just paid all the properties off. And I think we were somewhere around 58 properties at the time.
Nice.
And we sold some of them off, they're just a pain in the butt. And I don't want to be a landlord anymore. So we started changing things. And so there's 2 avenues that I'm now doing. So one is called Subject To, where I take over the mortgage for somebody, actually assume their mortgage, they go on their merry way, and then I sell the property to someone who can't qualify for traditional financing. And it might be because of being self-employed, an entrepreneur, or they, have a divorce situation, or it's credit related. But because I come from a credit background, I can see that there's an exit strategy for them. I don't want to put anyone in bad situation. So we end up reselling the house to them. So I'm just now collecting income that isn't rental income. So if something goes bad on the house, they can fix it. And if they don't pay, I can foreclose on them and repeat the process. That's one part. And the other is that I buy property with cash. Just outright buy them and then resell them, and again give them to people that I can do an analysis to see that they're not going to be hurting the property and that they're not buying something they can't afford. And those are the two strategies that we had. But what happened was it came to that because I said, you know what? I came from a very poor family, and if someone would just give me a shot, maybe things could change for me. And that's where, when I stood back and I was starting to make more money and I had more time to think instead of just running rapid, I was able to say there's a better way for me to deliver this product and for it to be a win-win for both of us.
That's fascinating. That's a very interesting approach, and I like it quite a lot. So, okay, so going back to success to significance, then is that tied with the 5 steps?
Yeah, it kind of is.
All right. Do you want to give us a bit of insight, like those kind of 5? Because I know we're going all over the place here, but the five step, when you had that epiphany and you're at the you're at the restaurant and you're like, oh my God, life's got to change. I want better, not just more. I want better.
Yeah.
What are the very high level? What are the 5 steps that you took to transition that, and then we'll go from there?
Yeah. Yeah. So those 5 steps are part of cracking the top producer code. So no matter what business you're doing, it's just the 5 principles, right, of cracking that code that lead you to lifestyle business mastery, where you're mastering, your lifestyle is mastering everything, not your business. And so, yeah, the steps are, I just had a little brain fade. Oh my gosh, I talk about this all the time. I went right into step 2.
I'm not sure. I
went right into step 2 in my mind and then forgot step 1. But so the first step is clarity, right? Clarity of your message. And this is what we've been talking about, your values and your principles and right, all of that clarity. The second is credibility. The third is community. The fourth is communication. And the fifth is continuity. And so I went and I took the best of the pieces that what made me so successful up to that point. And then I amplified areas that I knew I needed to work on or that I didn't recognize. So I reached out to a lot of my colleagues as a mastermind or as advisor group and said, when you think about me, what do you think about? What are the things? Because I wanted to make sure that I knew who I was and what my personality was, but I didn't know how the world saw me. And I felt like if I could figure out how the world saw me, I could attract more of that rather than me thinking the world sees me some way. And that's really where all of that was derived. And that's when I started saying, if you can apply these 5 principles in anything you do, and I apply it to all of my businesses, if you can apply these 5 principles, then for me, that was the code to cracking any ceiling for yourself on your way to that, because it's all about client attraction, because that saves time.
Right? Yeah, totally. Right. Pulling the clients towards you rather than pushing them towards
pushing a rope.
Yeah. You're pushing a rope. I like that. Right. How much, what's your, as a non-female myself, how much has being a female entrepreneur in a male dominated industry shaped your views on what the business should be able to do for you? Like, how does that impact it?
You know what? I don't even think it does. I was talking to someone else earlier today and he said, when it comes to, I'm a girl and I'm very feminine and all that good stuff. But when it comes to business, I think I'm gender neutral. I don't really go in that direction. And I don't know if that's perpetuated from, the years ago when, I had to be like a guy and not show emotion and, really dive in and just put my big girl panties on and go do something. So for me, I don't actually differentiate between that. I really don't. For me, and maybe this is my engineering mind as well. But for me, it's just all, give me the facts, ma'am. I just want the facts. And, so I don't really feel that it plays a different role. You have to be surrounded by a community. You have to be clear about what you want. You have to have systems to scale, and you have to dominate. You have to dominate as a market influencer. And that's that credibility piece of it. And that's the part where I said, the MD versus a specialist. Yeah. And then last but not least, and it isn't least, clarity and continuity protect the tactical that are in between. That continuity is the consistency, and it's not sexy to be making phone calls and having to have vision and tracking things and holding yourself accountable and putting boundaries around yourself. But if you can't do that, you'll never lose weight, eating junk food all week and then being good on Friday. It just doesn't work. And in that, all the successful people that I've surrounded myself with, with Tony Robbins and Darren Hardy, Les Brown, these are guys that are in my phone and I call and they pick it up, right? Yeah. These guys, every one of them will tell you the same story, that it's work. In fact, Les says this: if you'll do what's easy, your life is going to be hard. If you do what's hard, your life will be easy. You got to put the work in.
So how do you balance that viewpoint of got to work hard? If it's easy, then you're probably not going to get there. You know, when you play it down that line, it's like, all right, if you do the hard things, life will be easy. But then at the same time, you're like, but you want life to be easy. So it seems a little bit counterintuitive to do the hard things. How do you balance that viewpoint between like working hard and working smart?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this gets back to, the 4 stages of growth in any business. You have formulation, concentration, momentum, and stability. And everybody wants stability. You have to go through formulation. That's the work hard. You have to formulate it. You can't just chase shiny objects, find the next newest app or the newest, that's it. That's the magic bullet. It takes formulation. That's the working hard. That's the slow down to speed up, right? That's the stop talking about it, take some action, and you'll get some results. You can't just be thrust into that momentum and that stability. And you've seen it everywhere. It's with actors and people who win the lottery and all that stuff. When you get propelled to that stage, there's always a fall. We see it all the time. We see it with athletes who are, and then all of a sudden they fell because they got propelled to it. They didn't do the work to get there. And some did, I get some do, but those are the ones that really make it long-term. And they have this oh my gosh, longevity. Longevity. I'll just use that word. They have longevity. They have longevity. So the formulation is the hard thing. Concentration is the continuity, and playing with it and having setbacks and trying things and it didn't work and shifting and moving, but not losing sight. It's like walking a straight line. Just because you take a bad step doesn't mean you stop walking that line. You just get back in line and go, okay, I learned from that one. And you keep plugging forward. But that concentration also requires tracking. Is it working? Or is this a waste of my time? And then all of a sudden the momentum comes, and that then leads you to stability. So that's what less means. That's what I mean by saying that you have to work hard. Here's another way to explain this. When you're going on vacation, it's amazing how you can be laser focused to get ready to get your airplane, to get on the plane. In fact, sometimes what happens is you get so laser focused, you get so much business coming in, you're saying, maybe I shouldn't go on vacation because all of a sudden I'm getting business. And my husband and I've even said, hey, let's plan a vacation because then we'll get business. But it's not that. It's the intense laser focus that's intentional for short jots. And that's what I'm saying is, so if I come into work, I'm going to come in and I'm going to emphatically know why I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's aligning with my life and it's getting results. And then I'm going to leave and I'm going to go live the rest of my life the rest of the day. So what if you could go on vacation every day? What if you could just act like you're on vacation every day? So it's not hundreds of hours. It's very short hours to get the job done and then go out and live your life.
Totally. It's a really interesting one because I'm very into the metaphysical kind of aspect. I like the idea of blending the very mechanical nature of things like business and real estate with the spiritual, esoteric, mechanical, and going, okay, this is the two sides of the yin and the yang. Yeah. And when we bring those two elements together, that's where the magic happens. Now, I know, now this is fascinating, that anytime that I feel stuck, anytime that I feel like I'm banging my head against a wall, that way, when you start to feel like you're trying to push a golf ball down a garden hose, whenever I get to that point, at the moment, when I say at the moment, I mean like within a couple of hours that I decide, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to take a holiday. I need to focus more on my relationship or whatever the case may be. Whenever that happens, and I make that decision to the universe, which sounds like I'm going a little woo-woo, but when I make that decision to the universe, I'm like, no more, it's going to be like this now. Everything gets easier. Everything gets easier. I have clients picking up the phone like, hey, let's do stuff.
You're not trying so hard. Yeah. I'm laughing because I call that the circle of chaos, right? So you get, so imagine this, four divided circle, right? And you get this idea and you go, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it. And then you go at it, right? You're like a little gerbil. You're like, I'm going at it. 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 I'm still going at it. And I'm getting tired and I'm still going at it. And then you get into the, so that's the first and the second, you get into the third one and it's overwhelm and stress. And you're like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm going on vacation. I have to get away. Right. Except it's a guilty vacation because when you go on vacation, you can't decompress the way you want until I used to laugh about it and say, look, I need 5 days to decompress and then I'll enjoy the 2 days that are left on my holiday. Right. But those 2 days, all of a sudden, everything's clear. And you're going and you're sitting there and you're taking a picture of your toes in the beach, right? Like what everybody does. And you go, oh my gosh, I have another idea. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get back. I'm going to implement this idea. And this is the one. And you get into this chaotic circle, right?
Yeah.
The difference is if you're in that second part where you're going through the motions, the concentration and you're tracking, you can recognize overwhelm and take a real vacation. Instead of recognizing it as overwhelm, it's time to reset. And now I go to the new formulation to take me to the higher altitude.
So how can rather than people having these big, I'm taking a break, I'm going to take a vacation. How can people start to do that on a micro level? Like how can you bring these two polarized pieces where like one is I'm on a holiday, I'm at the beach and I'm switched off, or I'm at work and it's intense and it's hard, because I think this is where there's a big gap, because then like, oh my God, I've got to go back to work. And it can be quite, how do you, if you could perfectly do it, 30 seconds of every minute you would be on holidays and 30 seconds you would be at work. That would be the great balance. And you would have this amazing, ecosystem of productivity and success. So how can people start to bring those two extremes together?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing is I'm going to go back to, you have to have your core values and you have to be tracking stuff. You have to know where you are, what's working and what isn't working, because so that you don't eat soup with a fork. So every decision I make goes back to my core values. It's so much easier to make a decision. Can I meet this client tonight, this evening? Yes or no? How does that affect my family? One of my other core values is stability, and it's both financial and time stability. Does this interrupt my stability pattern? Yes, it does. Okay, can't meet client. Done, right? That's how you do it. The other thing, and it's the tracking too, should I be meeting the client? Every time I meet a client at 8:00, this doesn't work, right? Or every time I'm on the phone with a client, it doesn't work. I need to be meeting with clients, not talking to them on the phone. And so it's track everything, so that you know what works and what doesn't work. And I'll give you a good example, and then I will tell you the other part. But when I would get phone calls for leads, people would say to me, "Hey, my realtor told me to call and get an interest rate quote." I learned that I would spend 20 minutes on the phone, and my conversion was only 15%. So what I decided was, when someone called me like that, because I tracked it, when someone called me like that, I'd say, you know what? I have someone else who can handle that for you, because it wasn't worth my 20 minutes. That 20 minutes, I could be sitting with a client, and I realized that with sitting with a client face to face, my conversion was 87%. But we don't ever take the time to do it. We don't slow down to speed up. We speed up to slow down all the time. So it is holding yourself accountable and putting some disciplinary actions, within there. The last thing I want to say about that is I don't believe in balance. That's the problem. If you're standing on two boats, right? Which boat gets attention? Neither. Because you're like, oh, this one, but not and then this one. And then what's happening to you? You're exhausted. Make a decision. Jump on the boat, enjoy the boat, spend the time, be 100% present, and then say, thank you. I'm now going to the other boat. And I'm going to spend my time over there, and I'm going to be 100% present, and I'm going to get so much more done than trying to balance is 50-50. A scale balance is you're only half this and half that. You're not all in anywhere.
What about the idea? Because you're saying draw a line of distinction is what you're saying. When I'm at work, I'm at work, and when I'm not, I'm really not. Done.
And that's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about taking it from a different perspective though, where the idea that if you love what you do, you'll never work a minute in your life, and all of that kind of stuff. Like, what about that perspective? Yeah, I mean, because that's kind of the antithesis of what you just said. When you're at work, bang, you're at work. When you're not, bang, you're not. What about this idea that if you're living your passion and then it's not?
Well, in my opinion, my perspective on this is you will love your work more because you don't like your work because you're not in control of it. Your work's in control of you. You're not in control of your work. So when you love what you're doing and you have, and I hate using the word control because we can measure control all of the time. Nobody really has. The only thing you have control over is your breathing if you want to breathe, right? Yeah. You really don't have a lot of control over a lot of things. So, it's, and again, when we're running around like chickens with our head cut off, we're always in a state of fight or flight. And that is an increased state that as you're listening to this or you're watching this, and even me, as I'm explaining some of these things, it's starting to have an impact on me, right? And while that may be fine because you're young now or you love what you're doing now, I'm telling you, you're going to get to the point where it has an impact on you. And it'll get to the point where, gosh, I wish 15 years ago I had learned this so that I didn't have the heart attack and the stroke. Because this increased state of fight or flight is not healthy for any of us, right? So my perspective is if I love what I'm doing and I want to do it, let me do the best aspect of it. I call it the trifecta of triumph. It's I do what I love to do, I do what I'm really good at, and I do what makes financial sense for me to be doing. It doesn't make financial sense for me to be doing, more administrative things right now. So I find people that love to do that. I find people that love to do social media posting. They're like, oh, I'm all over it. Great. You do it. I'll just do some videos here and there. Right. So when you're in it, you're doing what you love to do and you do what you're very good at. And so it happens faster. That's why you can get in, enjoy what you do because you know that it's moving toward a final result with the anticipation of how much fun is it going to be to go dance for 3 hours tonight. Get me in, get me out, baby. Yeah, I love doing what I'm doing, but I'm going to come in and I'm going to do only the best part of what I love to do.
Yeah. That way you get more of a smorgasbord of life anyway, because you get to go and choose.
Oh, you get a little boost, right? You get a little booster shot of, ooh, that was good. It felt good today. I love what I do. Awesome. But I don't need to be married to it. I don't need to be there 80 hours a week. Yeah.
Well, I'm mindful of time. I think we're going to run over an hour. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, great. Because this is good. So let's talk then, because I think it's a great analysis of or a great viewpoint. What about how do you success versus significance? Your podcast is called Success to Significance. That implies that they are two distinctly different destinations or different locations, and you're transitioning from one to another. So let's talk about what is the difference between success and significance.
Yeah. And, it was funny. We played around with success to, success from, success with, and I finally, just said, I'm going to go with it because I'm talking about everything from success to significance. Okay. Where it perpetuated is I was heading, one of the goals that I had in my mortgage practice was to fund $1 billion. And I think there's less than 30 people that have done it. I'm one of the few women. If not the first, I was maybe the second person who ever did it. And that was a goal, fund $1 billion. When I turned 47, I realized that I was in the business for a little less than 30 years, somewhere around there, 30 years. And I said, oh my gosh, if I'm going to retire at 65, 67, I'm going to be telling people that I'm in mortgage lending for 50 years. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So at that point in time, I started changing the way that I was working my business, saying, okay, I either hit $1 billion, I hit 55. I'm not going to work past 55. and that was sort of my trigger. So I ended up retiring at 55. And I didn't want to go past 50 years. I retired at 50, no, 50, yeah, 55, I think. 54 maybe. I hit $1 billion in May of 2019. I'm sorry, 2018. I ended up funding 1,522,000 and some change, and that was my trigger. I actually did that in April, and May 22nd I was gone. Did it, hit one of my goals. I'm out of here. I'm out of here, baby. And but up until that point, I was building a bridge to what is this going to be? Am I going to leave and then go home and go, now what do I do? Right. So I was losing sleep over it, kind of trying to, I was already speaking and podcasting and an author and all that. But I was like, what am I really going to do that's going to make me happy? And I went out networking one day, and it was not too long after that. And I said, someone said, well, what do you do? And I go, oh, well, I'm a mortgage. I don't know what I do, because I had this identity for myself. And I realized that the title that we have in the job is not who we are, but that was my identity. Everything about me being a lender was my identity. So I said, well, really I'm moving from success into significance for me. And how can I impact other people to realize their success sooner? But it wasn't enough just to call it that. I said, well, there's something else there. So I started going, well, what is life after this success? And that's where it finally came to success to significance, life after breaking through glass ceilings. But for me, those ceilings weren't financial. They weren't womanness. It wasn't any of that. It was all the many, many glass ceilings that we break through. All of us were breaking through, personal ceilings, weight gain, weight loss, suicide, not suicide, divorce, not divorce, financial, yes, of course. But it's people that are sitting on the other side saying, I want to go to that other side, but I don't know how to go. So I interview people that want to go, and my audience is people that are listening and that want to go, people that are in the midst of it and the struggles and trials and tribulations, and people have come on the other side and said, you can do it. Come back, come on over here. It's pretty cool to be over here, to have your life be significant rather than you drawing on your success. The pride.
So can someone, we've sort of touched on it a bit, but I want to just make sure we're being clear. This doesn't need to be something that happens after success. It's not like you become successful and then, okay, well, how do I go from success to significance? How can you become more significant now? Let's say you're 5 years into your career or your business.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, I could go, I'm very faith-based. That's one of my core values, faith. To whom much is given, much is expected, right? And I think that's part of it too. But again, you find that a lot of people are running around with their fancy cars and their fancy houses. And, is that your definition of success, or is that what society tells you is success? Because if you can stand back and say, you know what, I don't need the biggest, baddest, whatever. Yeah, I don't need that. If it's a want, it's different, but I don't need that. And really be able to step back and say what truly is important. And again, it goes back to the core values. Part of what I want to spend more time with is, serving at my church, right? Being involved. I do a lot of hospice work because that fulfills me. Those are things that make me happy. But when you can't see that because you're running around trying to chase the almighty dollar, or chasing someone else's definition of what success is for you, then there's no way you can give back. You'll never give back. You're just going to give to your family, yourself and your bank account, and then die. And you're not leaving an imprint on the world. Yeah, it's quite funny when I, even just a couple of years ago, we were doing all these, you do all these goal setting exercises, and you have all these kind of gurus and stuff. Like, imagine the nicest car you can think of, and they get you to do all these vision boards based on these material. I was never really super comfortable with it, but you get told this is what you're supposed to do. Vision boards of like Lamborghinis and yachts and like all the riches that you can have. Right. And then I was like, it wasn't, I went through that process. I was like, and to be honest, when I was in that frame of mind, I was
I was like a rabid dog. I was like, all right, we're gonna go. Look, this is where we're going. We're gonna have 100 houses. We're gonna have 9 cars. We're gonna boom, and off we go. And it was, to be honest, was very productive, but it was also not that fulfilling. It was not that fulfilling.
Well, even the way that you just said it, raised your fight or flight.
Yeah, totally. And it
just raise your fight or flight. Versus, you know what I want in life? I want to be able to watch a child have, right? It's not, let's go find a child that wants to have shoes. Right? It's totally. Just different. It's just different. And it's my definition of success. And that's why it goes all the way to the core values. What is it that I want? What do you want in your life?
You know what I think? I think people want?
How do you get more of it? How do you get more of it? You know, if you, like for me, I like standing. I have a wraparound porch. I'm on 21 acres, in the country. And I love standing or sometimes standing in the cold weather with my tea and just listening to the birds. So how can I get more of it?
You know what?
If I want to go to dinner with my friends, we walk out of restaurants and say, "Oh, it was so great. We got to do it again." And we don't do it. How do you get more of it?
Indeed. I think there's a missing. There's a missing target for people because they don't know what to aim for. And I've been thinking about it deeply a lot recently. And I think we kind of touched on it earlier in this episode. But optimizing for calm. At the end of the day, that's all people. That's all people want. The calmness to know that everything's okay. They get to do it.
It's actually, I think there's a phrase in the Bible. I was just looking at it early on, but it's be still and know.
That's good.
Be still. It's not me. It's the Bible, right? But it is be still and know. When we're not still, we don't know. It's better to know than wonder. And we wonder by running ourselves ragged all the time. What's next? How can I make it? Oh my gosh, they have it. I should have it. They did it. I should do it. It's be still and know what's right for you.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so if people wanted to reach out to you, what ways, I know you're in the States, a lot of stuff you've got is centered around the US, but if people wanted to reach out, if they wanted to tap into a little bit more of this has been a really fun conversation. It's been really fun. We've gone off in a lot of directions and we've covered a lot of ground. I think it's going to be very helpful to people. But if people want more of you, if they want to experience more of this, where should they go?
Yeah, JenDuplessis.com or Jen Duplessis, however you want to pronounce it, but you can see it there. JenDuplessis.com. Just go there. You get information. You can connect with me there. I'm really, the thing about my practice is I've already built an empire, in the mortgage space. I'm done with that. Now it's all about, the boutiqueness, really digging into people's lives and really making an impact. If you email me, I will respond. And people hear that. They always say that to me is, I can't believe I'm talking to you. No, I can't believe you're not. I mean, that you are, because, this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to serve and help make your life better. And so if you want a tip or whatever, just go to JenDuplessis.com, send me a contact information. That's the best way. And of course, we're all over social media. We're all over the place. So you can just find me there too.
Awesome. Amazing stuff. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas, visions, insights, perspectives with our audience. I think it's going to be amazingly impactful. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Well, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me. And, again, it's just been a pleasure. I can't wait for next week. And what a great birthday present I'm going to get.
I know. We're doing two. We're doing two. We're doing a podcast and a Facebook Live on your birthday. This is like, I'm going to have to wear a party hat. So all kinds.
Well, I'll have a tiara on for the whole day.
All right, I'll get myself a tiara as well then, and that way I'll be in theme. Okay, sounds good. Jen, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I really appreciate everything. Cheers.
Thank you so much.